Got it.
Hi, I'm Quentin Costello with SF Indie Fest, and I am here with the filmmakers of Colineales. I have Jose and Patty Corres here. So thank you both so much for sharing your film with us, and thank you for being a part of this Q&A, and really looking forward to learning a little bit more about the film. So I guess my first question is like, how did this story kind of develop? I mean, it's kind of told in this really interesting way, and I'm just kind of curious how you both kind of came together to kind of create this movie.
Well, I'll let Jose answer this one because he's the creator and the writer. So I think you know, the crazy, lovely idea developed in his mind. So
you heard it right. She's gonna let me answer the question. So yeah, the dynamics that we have here. No, so
the floor is yours.
Thank you. No, the idea happened. I was in Mexico City a few years back, and I was at some get together at a friend's apartment that is located in this very old building. And you know, as the night progressed, I was kind of looking out a window, and I just kind of started looking at the outside, the city, how it's changed over the years, and how like everything is kind of like evolving into something else. And then I sort of just kind of like turned the camera around, and I started looking inward into the apartment. And I started thinking to myself, wow, how many people have lived in this apartment? How many, you know, tears have been shed, and laughs have been shared, and people in love, and, you know, so many lives just kind of like, you know, interconnected and intertwining. And I just sort of kind of wrote it down, and I put it in my pocket, and I said, eventually I will get to use this somehow, because this was such a juicy idea, so important to me, just because I'm just a very big fan of life in general. So, and then, well, yeah, and then, you know, to piggyback on that. So then what happened is, like, a few years later, when we were wanting to do the story, I wanted to tell the stories of three couples, and I just, you know, I kind of went back to my jacket, I pulled up the card, and I said, this is the perfect opportunity for me to use this, because I can jump in and tell the story of the three different couples at that time.
And then how did you both kind of start to collaborate on the film?
well, so Jose and I actually have been filmmakers together collaboratively for a while. You know, we filmed several shorts, a pilot. And so this was just kind of the next thing, you know, for us to do this feature. And, you know, he was kind enough to invite me to be one of the directors and one of the actors on his idea. And, you know, I mean, we work well together, you know. Fortunately, we still talk to each other, you know. I mean, like, working as siblings and in any type of environment, I think, is challenging, you know. But no, I mean, we make it work, and yeah, I mean, it was just another opportunity to kind of create something and share it with the audience and stuff.
So yeah, it's very, you know, atypical that siblings kind of come together to create a movie. I mean, can you kind of talk about, were you both big movie fans growing up together, and like, how did your tastes intersect or diverge? Can you kind of talk about that?
So we're 6 years apart, right? But we were born the same day, same time. So I was born, you know, many moons ago. But so growing up, although there was a gap in the age difference, we sort of liked the same movies, and we grew up watching the same things. Our parents, they were very kind enough, and very they were just amazing to allow us to explore and to fantasize and to think about things, and to watch this type of movies. So I had like a huge, what we both did, a huge VHS collection, and we went from, you know, anywhere from fantasy to comedies to romance. And I've always been a big fan of just like kind of like this check mix of just like feelings and movies and stuff, just kind of diving in and just picking a random one. That was for me. For her,
Yeah, I think like he said, you know, having the same birthday somehow, I don't know, makes us twins in a way. And so there's something about, you know, kind of being able to identify with some of the same things. And, the art of filmmaking is one of those things. And, we come from a family that's in that's in the art, industry and acting and theater and stuff. And our dad was in theater. And so we've always liked that side of it. Obviously, we're actors. Well, we were actors, let's call it this. We were actors before we were filmmakers, right? I mean, that's kind of like where the passion started, the love for the craft started. And then we just kind of, it all just evolved into, wow, we really love film. And why don't we just do this ourselves? And that's kind of, one thing led to another. And here we are, we're working on our next feature now. And anyway, that's for another story.
And how did it start? Did you kind of begin with, earlier versions of video cameras, or were you using phones, or how did you kind of develop a kind of cinematic language together and this notion of experimentation? Or is this film like your first kind of experience really collaborating in that way with film and video?
So I think that the other things that we've done in the past have been very natural, lighting, very not, let's call it, what you mentioned, experimental, right? The short films that we've been able to make together, your regular canons or what have you. I think this film was the first one that we kind of sat down and we wanted to explore so many other ways to translate whatever the narrative was, right? The color theme that was chosen, the way the visual effects, post-production and editing, all of that stuff just kind of like came together with what the idea was initially for the film. And so this, for sure, to answer your question, was, I think, the first one that we were like, let's explore all of that to be able to share this experience, because it was an experience, as a whole, I think.
No, absolutely.
And can you kind of talk a little bit about the process of casting the film and deciding how you were going to work with these different sets of characters, who you wanted to work with in terms of who you were casting, and then how deciding that you both yourselves were going to be a part of that?
I think one of the main reasons why we wanted to be in it is because let me just backtrack that. One of the main reasons why we became filmmakers is because as actors, you continue to go to auditions and you continue to try to find the opportunity to showcase your talent. And it's just like any other activity or sport in the world. You sit on the bench, but you never really get to play, so you never really get to, you can practice as much as you want, but this is real life game, lights, camera, action. So we wanted to say, you know what, let's do this ourselves. We have the means, we have the opportunities, we have the talent, we have the Texas community, especially here in San Antonio, have been amazing. There's so much talent. So I feel that taking all of that into consideration, we started creating this idea that we can make films just like anyone else, starting from the bottom up. And then, of course, with the pandemic, everything kind of like, all the tectonic plates just kind of shifted. So there was more opportunity for independent young filmmakers to just kind of come up and say, hey, I can also make this. So when it came down to the casting, and it came down to like to putting ourselves in there, we knew that we wanted to be in it from the beginning. How we were going to sort of kind of like change hats and move around and say, hey, I'm going to direct, you going to act. I think at some points for myself, I thought to myself, I'm probably not going to be in this just because there's so many moving pieces and there's so many things that I have to be in charge of or have to be, basically just like doing. And I just wanted to do the right thing. And once again, I've been blessed enough to work with someone like her that we could just like say, you know what, we're just going to like swap. I direct you, you direct me. We both know, our struggles. We both know our strengths, our highs and lows, and we were able to really experiment and explore those opportunities. For myself, I never never, everything that we do together, I never allow her to just say, you did great. No, I want her to push me because she knows, my limits, and she knows how to like get the best out of me. And if I need to cry, she just comes up and whispers in my ear, "You're a terrible actor," and then just start crying, but that was for me.
Yeah.
For her,
Yeah, no, he would just hit me when I needed to start crying. It was physical.
Yeah.
No, I think, yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that, you know, being an actor, considering yourself an actor because you love the craft and you love what that is, without sometimes having the opportunity to have the work, right, is sometimes, a lot of times, frustrating for actors, up and coming actors. And so, yeah, like creating the opportunity to do this ourselves was super important. And then the decision to also debut, if you will, our directing styles was also important because, we want to do things independently as well that kind of showcase some of that stuff. And so, we had a great team. Our director of photography was incredible. He's a genius. And so both of us separately as directors were able to kind of tell him, with keeping the same theme that we had for the movie, tell him like the things that we wanted to capture. And I mean, it's so like collaborative, that it just became such a great output of what it was, like such a great result. And then in the other end, the other actors, the female characters were actually casted first, and Lori and Andrea, we worked with them before, and we just kind of fell in love with their craft, and we casted them first, and then it was just about finding the other two male actors, and that was, I mean, Avery brought like this tenderness to his character, and Will brought like spunky, like, I don't know. I don't know. I think like as far as casting, I think we were just so very lucky to find, everybody that was involved that just fit perfectly the way that it was intended to.
That's great. And can you kind of tell me a little bit more about the visual identity of the film and the decision to work in 4:3? And then I know you mentioned earlier making these kind of decisions about how it was going to be color graded. So can you kind of tell me a little bit more about the evolution of the visual style of the film?
so let me take it in parts, because otherwise I'm going to get lost. The 4:3. I'm not only an actor, and I'm not only a filmmaker. I'm also a very big fan of the art, and I like to explore different opportunities and things like that. I like old films, 8mm, that kind of stuff. So I always wanted to take the opportunity with any project to just do 4:3. I really like how it looks. Not every film is going to fit that. So when I sat down with the director of photography, my sister just mentioned him. He's amazing. His name is JD Macias. My respects. So when I sat with him, one of the main things that I wanted to say is, hey, as filmmakers, we want to tell the story with pretty pictures. So if we're going to tell the story with pretty pictures, I want them to be pretty pictures. Like you could take a frame out of this, print it, and put it on your wall, right? So what better way to do that than using 4:3? So that was for me the way that was kind of like the identity of what I wanted to do with the film as far as like the visuals. With the color, this is something that we both talked about. It was we sort of kind of like this palette of colors, and she came in. She was the one mostly that was like, I want this.
Well, no, I mean, I think it was just about like a true definition, like our, I guess, rather a distinction, right, of the three different eras. And I think that it was like, how do we correlate mood with color and texture and warmth and coolness and all of that. And I think a lot of it was kind of connecting to those eras. And, the era that I had the opportunity to act in was, in the 70s. And so I think that I just always imagined that as something a little warmer, and, so just kind of like bouncing ideas off and making sure that it wasn't like super drastic or super crazy to do, totally different color schemes. And yeah, I mean, it ended up working, but I mean, we talked and talked and talked, and I think it worked out.
Yeah, it definitely kind of added a kind of unique, I felt like each, segment in time kind of the color helped kind of situate you in that different section. But kind of feeling unified throughout the whole film. And I wanted to, you've kind of brought up this notion of working with like nonlinear and time. And I was wondering about how that theme kind of came about, and to what extent that was something that was, evolving from the script into the post-production process, and how you were kind of working in the edit room around some of these themes that you wanted to explore with time.
I think I believe of the way that the idea of time is told in the story is just something very close to the heart for me, which is time is not linear, it's all happening at the same time, and we're just all existing in different frequencies. I'm a little weird, so. But the idea of the whole thing is that I needed to have this clear in my head so I can put it into the script. And the reason why I wanted it just to be like perfect is because I wanted the script to be like the perfect instruction manual, like the perfect recipe book. So when it came down to the filming, because you know how it is, you write one thing, you shoot a movie, and then you edit one thing. So it's like, it could be 3 different movies once by the time you're done. So I wanted it to be just like a perfect instruction manual that anyone can pick it up and they will have the same result every time, right? So with that being told, I wanted to be very specific in all the details, the transitions, the segues, all those things. So when it came down to the end in the editing room, there was not a lot to be done. It was just basically putting the pieces together. And honestly, the way the movie looks, it's like 95% the way it's written. And when we did this a lot together, the treatment of the script way before casting, way before anything else, it was, how is this going to flow? Is this going to work? Because especially with an indie film, you don't have the resources to go crazy and explore. You're not gonna write the story in a space station, kind of thing. But it was a way to be creative in a very simplistic way, in order to make it as eclectic as possible. And then when it came down to the editing, to just be as simple, just like cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste.
Yeah. It's nice when it's kind of what you would envision working in terms of the structure on the script kind of works out in the edit room at the same time.
If I'm honest with you, this is the only time this has ever worked. Okay, with everything else, everything else we make, it's like we pray that it can get as close as possible, but we end up in the editing room and we're like, oh my God, what is this?
And it's like dates to film something else. Like, I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
I definitely know that feeling of like, well, this made sense on paper. What the hell happened? When I strung it out. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about some of your influences? You alluded to some of the genres that you like, but are there different kind of films that you were thinking about and watching and discussing when you were making this film, or not?
Oh gosh. I'm gonna have to pass it to you first so I can think.
So as far as influences, just in general, I wanted to because the film talks that there is one of the couples speaks Spanish, another one in English. I wanted to go back to basic storytelling, especially in my native Spanish. One of my favorite directors is Guillermo del Toro. And Guillermo del Toro is able to build this entire world, like it's just like this massive thing. And then he just kind of zooms all the way into like 2 or 3 feelings that one character could be feeling. And it's able to like interconnect everything, and the ramifications of those characters, or that particular character that he's talking about, are able to just kind of like expand and touch the world that he's creating and make everything just sort of make sense, which is a very difficult thing to do. And I hope that I got as close as possible, just because it was such a small film that I wanted to do that. That was one of my influences. And then the second influence, of course, I wanted to do something one of my favorite movies of all times is called A Ghost Story. And I love the slow burn. I love the giving the audience the time to just breathe and to really feel the feelings, and to really just kind of walk with the characters, and to be able to just sort of kind of like spoon feed them, you know, and allow those people to digest that in a way that you're like, oh wow, and you really feel for those characters. So those were mine.
Yeah, I guess now hearing your answer, thank you. Yeah, I think that for me, because I was trying to think of like something that inspired me while filming. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, some important influences for me are like, you know, actors like Salma Hayek and like Ana de Armas, you know, like Latin actors that have made the transition from, you know, their countries over and have made it, and, you know, stay true to their culture, you know, as they you know, continue in like the American side of the filmmaking. So with that in mind, I think the intention of Colineales was to have a very strong female presence. And so I think that thinking of like my influences, I wanted to kind of correlate some of like my personal feelings into that, and making sure that we are showing that equality and stuff, you know, and then the other side of the coin, show that and tell the story that we don't typically, you know, hear or see, is, you know, kind of like their counterparts, right? Like the vulnerability of like the males, and, you know, like how they were able to kind of navigate through their emotions and life and their relationships and stuff without being afraid to show that emotion, and still kind of maintain their strength. And, you know, the women, of course, you know, showing that staying true to themselves while going through this like internal trauma, if you will. So and I kept a lot of that as I was acting, and also as I was directing on my end. And I think that, yeah, I mean, those strong females, like I probably would say that those would be like my main people that I would think about during those times.
And you mentioned earlier that you're working on another film now. Can you kind of tell me about what's next for you and your career, and what you'd like to explore?
Sure. We are working on a pretty cool one. I think it's called.
So far, it's called San Antonio City of Dreams. It's a working title. Most likely, it'll probably be the final one. It's an anthology, and I'm a very big fan of anthologies, and I wanted to make a film that had like different stories all together, sort of kind of like you know, Colineales, but in a way that was like you could expand. Now, the reason why I wanted to make it about San Antonio is because the Texas film industry is booming and is growing, and we have so much talent out here that you know, for lack of resources, for lack of encouragement, or for lack of the right outlet, they'll move out. They just, talented people, they move out to other parts of the country, and it's, you know, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I wanted to show the world, to showcase one, that, you know, that not only Texas, but San Antonio, Texas has an amazing amount of talent. Two, is a gorgeous city. Okay, it's not just the Alamo. There's just so many things. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to show different stories in different areas using different characters, in order to showcase this. So that's the next project is that we're going to start shooting in March. That is, imagine what we did with Colineales, but just like times 10 basically. And we're very excited because we were able to reach out to people here in town and to the right actors and the right directors and the right support group, and people just like the amount of the response, the feedback is, that's enough for me. And the film's not even made, and that's enough for me. It's the people are just excited and they want to be in it and they want to do things, and of course at the end of the day, this is what you want to do. That you want to be able to showcase your art and want to be able to continue telling stories, and you want to be able to put your work out there, in order to continue to make this bigger and better.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your film with SF Indie Fest. As independent filmmakers, it's incumbent on the audience to get out there and help spread the word about these films. So if you like it, encourage everyone to go spread the word, tell your friends, and also to be. You said it's San Antonio Anthology, or San Antonio is the title.
Yes,
San Antonio Anthology. So keep your eyes out for that. And but thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you both again soon.
All right. Thank you, Quinn.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.